Women in the Business of Sports series. I could not be more thrilled to co-host this series with my very dear friend and also the Chief Brand Officer of WWE, Stephanie McMahon. So Stephanie, we just keep getting better and better together, unlocking these incredible stories. So I'm so excited that today is not just about women in the business of sports, but we actually have female athletes that are joining us today.
Yes. And I think it's so exciting, just to add to that, Shelley, and thank you again for this incredible platform. But as we continue to expand this, we're talking about executives in sports. We're going to talk to sportscasters. We're going to talk to advertisers, leagues. And of course, today we're talking to the athletes themselves, which is so exciting. I can't wait to hear their perspectives. So we have Charlotte Flair, who is a WWE superstar and the current NXT champion. And we have Jordan Nobbs, who is an Arsenal and England footballer. In the States, of course, we say soccer, and I know that that's like but that does not do either one of you justice in terms of introductions. So I would love to just start with Jordan. And one thing actually the three of us have in common that, I haven't found in any of the materials, but is we are all our father's daughters. Your father was a professional footballer as well. Ashley, Charlotte, I know that, Ric Flair, of course, WWE Hall of Famer and legend and icon in the world. And Vince McMahon, of course, being my father. So something that we all, have in common. So Jordan, starting with you, if you could just tell us a little bit about your story, who you are and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, so I'm Jordan Nobbs, play for Arsenal and England national team. Like you said about my dad, he was ex-footballer. So my mum always said when I was, even tiny, I used to kick everything rather than pick it up. So I think she knew that I had the genes of my dad in me. And I joined a team from the age of 7, and I luckily got selected for England from the age of 12, and everything just really snowballed from there. I moved to Arsenal, one of the biggest clubs really in England, at the age of 17, and I've been there 10 years now. So getting one of the older ones of this squad now, unfortunately. And I've been in the England squad for many years now. So I've loved absolutely every minute of it. And, I've been very blessed that the women's game over the last few years has really took off. And especially in England, it's become obviously a professional lifestyle and just a great place and platform to be on.
Stephanie, can I just ask Jordan one question?
Yes, of course.
So I just found that fascinating that your father was a footballer and you started at the age of 7. When you started at 7 being a girl as a footballer, did you find, did bias and stereotypes kick in at that age? Were you aware of them?
Yeah, definitely. I think if I didn't kind of have the backing of my dad to, push me, because I did a lot of individual stuff with him, but when I originally started playing at the age of 7, the team I joined was, because obviously not many girls played then, was an all-girls team and an all-boys league. So, there was 20 young girls with maybe 500-600 boys that were all in teams there. And, we obviously heard a lot of comments on the sideline. And, luckily enough, my passion for football just totally, ignored all them comments and allowed me to progress. But I'd like to hope that we're slowly getting into a generation where we can keep pushing for the women's game and show that it's a fantastic opportunity for young girls to be a part of.
Love that.
I want to dig into that a little bit more. And Ashley, do you want to tell your story? And Shelley, we've only ever called her Charlotte, right? So call her Ashley. Charlotte's her stage name. So I'll go with Charlotte. It's hard in WWE, 2 names.
Ashley, what do you prefer?
Honestly, I don't know anymore. I feel like most people actually think my name is Charlotte. At work, probably Stephanie, Hunter, and maybe a few other producers that have known me since I was a little girl still call me Ashley. But other than that, even like my new friends that I've met along the way since I've started this journey, they think my name is Charlotte. And I have to tell them, actually, my name's Ashley. No, it doesn't
And
matter.
you just called my husband Hunter, right? Who's Paul.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Mythology. We all have dual,
Yeah.
personality. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I played sports all the way until college. I played volleyball in college. I didn't know that I wanted to be a WWE superstar until later in life, till my late 20s. And even then, I didn't know what I was getting into. Yes, my father, Ric Flair, was a WWE superstar, but it wasn't something that I grew up really following. I mean, I went to the shows with my family and I was like, oh, that's my dad. Or I'd take friends from school or friends from a team. And I was just so proud of him. But the women at the time in the industry, yes, they were athletes in their own right, but they necessarily weren't given the same limelight as the men. They were secondary storylines. And the women like Trish Stratus, Stacy Keibler, Tori Wilson, Beth Phoenix, I just looked at them as like these glamorous models. And I thought, to be a part of WWE, you had to be a model. And I didn't really go, oh, this is something I want to do. I just go, oh, I could probably do that. But in my 20s, I was, I think around 27. I was living in Charlotte, personal training at the time. And my little brother, all he ever wanted to do was be my dad. He wanted to carry on the last name. He'd been on the Independent. He'd had a WWE tryout, whatnot. But he was struggling with a drug addiction. So at WrestleMania 2012, where the Four Horsemen, which was a group my dad was a part of, were inducted, one of the producers looked at me while we were at a family dinner and said, hey, why aren't you doing this? And I just kind of looked at him like, okay, he's doing this to piss off my brother Reed. Because if Reed was like, wait, you're asking my sister and not me, I think my dad thought that would get my brother more engaged, more encouraged, to get on the right path. So my brother was like, hey, you got to do this. We can do it together. And that was in April of 2012. A couple months later, I signed with WWE and reported to where I am the current champion now, NXT, which was then our developmental territory, which is now our official third brand. I moved to Tampa, Florida. I uprooted my life because I really didn't have anything going on. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but something's telling me that if I start this journey, my brother can start with me and I'll get him on the right path. And he's going to be the next Ric Flair and he's going to carry out this dream, because I didn't really have any purpose or dream at that time. I was really lost in life. And then I started in July. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people. And I was like, man, I actually feel like for once in my life, I fit in and I belong. And at the time, I just have to tell this one little part. Hunter, or Paul, Stephanie's husband, was taking over NXT at the time. And he had called me and he's like, listen, your dad's one of my best friends and I'm doing this, but this doesn't mean that you're going to get handouts. This doesn't mean that, you're going to make it. This doesn't mean that I'm going to sign your brother. Because I don't think anyone was like, why is Ashley doing this? Because we never talked to her about wanting to do this. And I was like, no, Hunter, listen, I want to do this. And you don't know how athletic I am. And as I'm like talking to him, I'm like, I'm lying out of my teeth. I don't even know why I'm doing this. Anyways, my brother ended up passing away almost a year into my developmental career. And the moment he passed, I don't know, just like a switch went off and I was like, I'm going to continue his dream. And then since then, I just have dedicated every second, every minute, every day to, continuing the Flair legacy. And here I am. I'm actually in a room right now at Full Sail University where my career started, talking about this with you guys. So life can come full circle at any age. So here I am, Charlotte.
Charlotte
Thank you
Flair.
for sharing all that.
And
think
if I
that-
could, sorry,
Go ahead.
sorry, Shelley. If I can just expound on what Charlotte has done with this opportunity. So she has actually helped bring more viewers and eyeballs to the women's division in our industry, and really helped pioneer what's been called the women's evolution. Because was given that opportunity, we started recruiting female athletes like Charlotte, and training elite athletes all over the world. And Jordan, by the way, when you're done with football, you need to come over to WWE for a little bit.
I would happily do that.
And Charlotte was actually one of the first women to headline and main event WrestleMania, which you heard her mention before, which is our Super Bowl, akin to our Super Bowl or World Cup. And so in an event that took 35 years to feature our women, she was one of the first.
I think it's amazing. And I just wanted to really jump in also by saying, thank you, Ashley, for sharing the vulnerability, because what is very clear is your vulnerability is probably one of your greatest strengths in terms of also defining your legacy. And so we are getting a lot of questions, and I just wanted to, put one in here, which was from Deepak, asking all of you, what is the lessons or advice that your father gave you, having a daughter growing up in the sports business, whether it's about athletics or how to entertain an audience, or just plain old business advice about building a global brand?
Jordan, why don't we start with you? Oh, sorry, Ash.
No. I'm sorry. No, go, Jordan, go. Go, please.
Yeah. I would just say with my dad, I mean, I think in this type of industry, competitiveness is obviously one of the main things. And I think my dad created that from a very young age with me, and kind of just the resilience, especially as a female in that industry. And he'd obviously grown up in the male environment, to just, obviously enjoy yourself. And he never pushed me into doing anything I didn't want to do, but also he gave me that drive and belief and just passion to really follow my dreams. And I definitely wouldn't be in the position I am today if my dad hadn't, allowed me or supported me along the journey. And I think, you need them people around you, but you also then need your own drive and love for something to get you to the highest level. So I would just say that I think you just listen to the people around you, but then you also just do what is best for you and what makes you happy.
Ashley, what about you?
My dad kind of said the same thing that Jordan's dad said, but it was also, when I was growing up, my dad never made me feel like I couldn't do anything that men couldn't do. So when I started at WWE, I was like, wait, I can do exactly what he can do. So I never felt like why wasn't I getting the same amount, or why wasn't the women getting the same amount of airtime? Yes, it's different than sports, but it's not, because we are sports entertainment, but I can do anything that a man can do. And my dad instilled that in me in a very young age. So when I showed up at WWE, it was just don't deny yourself those opportunities, and staying true to who you are in our business. Another thing that he always told me was, you have to know who you are. You can't be anything else. So when you walk through that curtain, people are either going to believe that you believe in yourself and your authenticity, or you're not. And I know, like, one of the most important moments in our, game or our show is when you walk through that curtain. And that just kind of stuck with me in everything in life, is if you're not doing something where you're true to yourself, you're not going to make those strides and connections and growth as a performer or an athlete.
I agree with that, Steph. I mean, I think, and Ashley, exactly your point. I think you can fake it once or twice, but you can't consistently be someone else, which is why, I love the quote from Oscar Wilde, be yourself because everyone else is taken. And I think both, Jordan and Ash, you both have these, amazing differentiators about yourselves. And that's what makes you so real, so raw, and so inspiring, across the board.
Shelley, what's the best advice your father gave you?
My father passed away 2 years ago. And, Stephanie, you and I share that a lot. And He was one of the most important influences and will continue to be. He taught me to live life in the moment. That really is, he said if he leaves money for all of us to inherit, we didn't live life. And we have, as a family, which WWE is such an amazing family, we've traveled the world chasing total solar eclipses. The eclipse was remarkable, but what was so incredible about it was the adventure together, the trust, the relationships. And as you all got advice from your father, it was advice based on experience, based on truth, things you can't make up in a textbook. You can't read about life lessons. You have to experience them. And so my father really, he did not wear a watch because he didn't believe in time. He believed in living in the moment. And that is and enjoying every moment and being present in the moment. So those were, the greatest life lessons. And then one other thing that I have to share. He took us, we all went to the Bahamas once on one of 4 girls. It was a glass bottom boat. My father said, do you want to go on the glass bottom boat? And we all said, I don't know. I don't care. And my father called us pumpkins. He said, what are you, all pumpkins? And I'm like, God, that's horrible. Why are you calling? He goes, a pumpkin doesn't care. You either do something or you don't, but whatever you do, do it with heart and do it with passion and follow your passion. And so for me, those are lessons that will always be inside of me forever and always.
Follow your passion. That's something everybody said, right?
Follow. What about you, Steph? I mean, your father. I mean, Vince.
I think he, my dad, he always told me that me being a woman was actually an advantage. And especially because I grew up a woman in somewhat of a man's business at the time. And he said, you're very comfortable around men. You're very comfortable around women. He said, it's really an advantage for you. And he said, women have all the power. So he really boosted my confidence. And I have an older brother, and everything between us, with the exception of our curfew, was always 50-50. So I tried to push him on the curfew thing, but it didn't work. He said nothing good happens after midnight. It wasn't true. But I do want to give. Yeah, exactly. But I do want to get back to the business of sports, right? And Jordan, I want to ask you, as a female competitor, in your field at the top of your game, what advice would you have to business executives? What can we be doing? What can the media be doing? What can advertisers be doing? What can the leagues be doing differently to help support the rise of women's sports?
I think, I'll go off when we went into a professional environment over here in England was it started to obviously be televised. And I think, obviously, great example of America. I think you've always done it the best, especially in the women's game, and we slowly followed. But I think the media just need to get on board with the women's game and just allow us a platform to show, we work as hard as men, we train as hard, we're sacrificing just as much. And, I think unless we're given that opportunity and platform, whether it's sponsorship deals, whether we're on, adverts now that are on the telly, every single day, the likes of the World Cup, every single game was on BBC, which is obviously, your version of Fox Sports. But I think we need to be allowed them opportunities to then, develop. And I think slowly over the last few years, we have been allowed that, and that's why the women's games produce. But I think it's just wanting people to believe that we're trying to be great role models in our sport, and we just need more platforms to keep showing that we are incredible athletes. And I think it's took us a long time to get there, but we're now doing the best we can. But I think it's down to the media platforms all over the world to show that women's football is very normal. And I think when I was younger, I'd see people on the telly. I didn't see women athletes or women's footballers to look at, whereas now, young girls can turn on and say, oh, look, there's Carly Lloyd, there's Jordan Nobbs, and inspired to be like them.
Jordan, you have a question that ties just to where you're going with this. It just, have you seen the marketing for the women's team over the 10 years you've been with the club? Have you seen progress? I know we have a long way still to go and we need to amp it up across the board, but have you seen an evolution in the past 10 years?
Oh, it's been absolutely incredible. I mean, you know, I would like to say we keep improving, but I think when we look at media within how we promote it over, obviously Instagram, Twitter, etc., and then obviously the television, it's just absolutely incredible how it's changed. And I mean, it's changed our lives to, you know, allow us to live better. You know, I moved to London and football allowed me a lifestyle there. So I think with the media, it's been the biggest part of the women's game. And one thing we've always said as women's footballers, especially over here, is we interact very well with the public, whether that's signing autographs after games or even now with everything happening. We're in the media as much as possible to allow people to get to know us, not just as footballers, but as people. And I think we're going into a different and actually, I think, better platform where you actually get to know us better and create a better personal perspective on what we do and how we are. But I think obviously the Instagram, Twitter platforms have allowed us to do that.
Ashley, what about you?
And Ash, if I can give you a suggestion, and feel free to talk about whatever you want, obviously, but to expand upon that in terms of digital and social platforms, how you personally developed your own brand and how you started, and then what you started doing to show, you know, who you are and how that changed.
Oh man. So in terms of companies evolving and changing, and with women being marketable in sports, I think anyone should take a look at what WWE has done with their women since 2015. In 2015, the hashtag Give Divas a Chance trended for 3 days over a period of time, because there was a match on Monday Night Raw with the women and they were only given like 90 seconds. And the audience took to their social media and was just so angry for the women, and the company actually listened to the audience and started to give the women the chance. And now through social media, through the women's hard work, the company's hard work and trust, the company has shown that women are marketable and can be the face of a company. And like Stephanie said earlier, I was one of 3 women, myself, Ronda Rousey, and Becky Lynch, main evented WrestleMania. And had WWE not taken the chance, and I think that's the biggest message, is companies have to take the chance. If they had not taken the chance and given us that platform and opportunity with social media, with storylines, with TV time, with merchandise, the women's evolution or myself wouldn't be where we are today. And if you ever have the opportunity to go to one of our live events, yes, we are a male dominated world just because there are more men on the roster than women. But if you go to a live event or a Raw, SmackDown, and NXT show, you will see the audience, and they're in more female merchandise than men's. And the women's matches, there's either sometimes 3-4 matches throughout the show, but we are just as highlighted, and you don't see a difference in gender, whether we're the main event or opening show or the middle of the show or time. WWE is the best example showing what the worth of the female athlete is and what we can do when we're given that chance.
I think it gets to a great next question, and a lot are coming in, but legacy. You know, what is your best advice for our future generation of female athletes? You know, what advice would you give to our future? Ashley, you go.
I think just taking charge. The individuals, male or female, who take the chances are the ones who make it and make change. When in 2013, after a year of being in WWE, I said, I'm going to main event WrestleMania. Everyone was like, wow, she's really full of herself, or that's crazy. Like, no one ever thought a woman would main event the largest show of the year within WWE in a male dominated world. And I kept saying it, other women kept saying it, and we worked together. And we did it. And it's the one, I think, in terms of creating your own legacy, you have to do something you're scared of every single day. Go after what, go after your fears. Take the risk, because if you never take the risk, you don't grow, you don't make change in the bigger picture. And it's also, you have to work together. We make progress in numbers, and it's not being jealous of another woman or another man. It's going, okay, right now they are making a difference, and it's supporting them and supporting one another. That's creating your legacy.
Love that. Jordan, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Ashley's points. And I think a few years ago with the Lioness, the England national team, we were in a meeting, and obviously we always want to win. We want to win. We want to be that winning team. And how do we get there? But one of our main things was creating a legacy for the women's game, because, a few years ago it wasn't quite there. And I think if you have, not just yourselves, but a group of very incredibly big role models who are all, looking out for everyone around them and grabbing onto their dreams and showing that they can create a dream out there. I think that's the only way it'll ever happen. I think you believe in yourself, but also, you have to grab onto what you want, and there's always an opportunity or, where you can get into that. But I think you have to push yourself and believe in yourself to go down that route. And like Ashley did, she said she wanted to do something, and she created that and became that. And it's just incredible that you can do that. But I think it's just encouraging that for young girls as well.
Amazing. Stephanie, are you going to jump in? Oh,
I'm enjoying listening to everyone, but it's all of the lessons that apply no matter what industry you're in. It's taking those calculated risks, being vulnerable, putting yourself out there, the hard work, believing in yourself, the passion, the never giving up, and supporting one another. Those are all such resounding lessons that apply and live each day to the fullest, right, Shelley? It applies no matter where you are in your life. These life lessons, they resonate. It's what helps us, be complete human beings, and what helps us fulfill our drive and do the things we don't think we're capable of.
I love that. I think just as we wrap, when it's Stephanie, we never have enough time to have these incredible conversations. What is your ask for Jordan and Ashley? What's your ask of fans, of media, of leagues? Give us an ask. What's your wish?
For women's sports, Shelley?
Women in sports. Who wants to go? Jordan, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. Tough question, but well, I'd like to ask for a lot, really, but
go for it.
I think it's just believing in fantastic role models we are, putting a platform out there, whether it's being on the front of a magazine for the first time or being on telly, just asking all young kids and the generation to believe that they can go wherever they want to and dream whatever they want to dream. And, we'll hopefully keep creating a pathway for their dreams, but also everyone else around us, just allowing us to give opportunities to everyone, and especially with the media. Please just keep putting us out there. And yeah.
Fantastic. Ashley, what about you?
Well, to be honest, I feel spoiled now to be a part of WWE, because they have really given me the opportunity to feel like I am one of the faces of a company that's male dominated and one of the largest in the world. And we are a global company. So I think my wish is for everyone to kind of look and see what WWE has done with their women in general as athletes, and give the same opportunity to other women in the sports world, in other industries, because our company as a whole, from the talent in the ring to someone like Stephanie McMahon, who is our chief brand officer, to other women in other departments, from our producers, just seeing what we can do together. And that's also the wish that it took the men supporting us as well. So that's men in other industries also supporting the women and not being intimidated or not thinking that we can take as much charge, and just giving those platforms like we have been given, because it's undeniable.
That's true, Stephanie.
And what is it, Shelley? 94% of C-suite executives played sports. So, you know, I just encourage Jordan and Charlotte to think about, you know, what companies are you guys going to be running? You know, when athletic.
And I think we've really come to terms with the fact that, you know, women play for passion, and these stories, your stories, are so inspiring. They're also so pay it forward. And what we found about the C-suite that have played on a team sport, you know, are the most collaborative, most supportive leaders today. And those are the greatest qualities that we are seeing, especially in this time, that are surfacing front and center, bringing those invisible strengths to visibility. And that takes, you know, social sharing and media highlights and supportive leagues like the WWE and the footballers, you know, out there. Thank you for sharing your stories. You inspire us every single day. And Stephanie, I can't wait for our conversation next week too. The more we start sharing the stories, the more we start creating the actions that we all want to see.
Thank you, everybody.
So,
Thank
you
you
guys for joining.
Thank you.
You're incredible.